Welcome back for our fourth day of our 31-day challenge of emotional intelligence and wellness. We welcome you again. This is Apostle Jonathan Scott, and I just want to say this for a brief moment. I don't deem myself as an expert, that I have this all down. Like you, I'm a work in progress. But what's important for each one of us as we go through this challenge, that we make a decision to take control over ourselves. Because once we take control over ourselves, we can see the things in our environment a little bit more clearer. Even though I have gotten and been certified as a life coach and have taken the lessons in both of these subjects, doesn't deem that I am a pro. I want you to know this challenge is not just for you, it's also for me. So let's hop on into our journey today, and let's deal with awareness, the emotional awareness, and understanding triggers. Emotional awareness and understanding triggers, things that will set us off. So while emotions shape our experience in life, our emotions shapes our experiences in life. They also influences our decisions. Our emotions also influences our decisions and even how we view ourselves. Emotions are part of experiencing of life. It also influences our decisions and also what we and how we view our own selves. By developing emotional awareness, we learn to guide our feelings. By learning emotional awareness, you and I learn how to guide our personal feelings and have the support to grow and align for our goals. It is to help our growth and help us get to our goals, our dreams, the things that we were created to do. Emotional awareness will push you past where you're at to where you should be. Triggers provide essential starting points. Triggers provide essential starting points. And these are the moments where strong emotions and reactions and frustrations and interruptions and sadness over our expectations and anger. Triggers is when someone violates your boundaries. Triggers is when someone has violated your boundaries. Although these responses or feelings immediately often tie us back to our past experiences. So a trigger is something that you experienced in the past, and now you're dealing with it right now. And all of a sudden, you feel like, man, I'm going backwards. But you got to recognize it's just a trigger. But you, just like myself, have to make a decision. Don't let the trigger cause the wrong response. Let me say this again. Don't let the trigger cause you to lose it all and make the wrong decision and have the wrong response. Triggers. Recognize these are connection helps you to replace automatic relations or reactions. Excuse me. Recognize this connection helps you to replace the automatic reactions with an intention or intentional response. Let me say this again. Recognizing these triggers and their connections help you to replace automatic reactions, like those quick responses, and by diverting them with an intentional response. An intentional response. And neurologist Oliver Sacks says it emphasizes on a profound link between emotions, memory, and perceptions. Triggers are linked to emotions, memories, and perceptions. Each trigger carries echoes of a previous experience. Each trigger, hear this, carries an echo of a previous experience, binding them with the present moment. So remember what I said. Something of the past has caused a trigger, and you have to make the right decision in that moment. Let me read this again. Each trigger carries an echo of a previous experience, binding them with the present moment. When you uncover these connections, you again have clarity and choose the action aligned with the values rather than allow them be repeated old patterns. You and I, because I want to make this personal. So I don't want nobody to think I'm coming at them because we're all growing in these 31 days. It's for us to choose the actions and align our values rather than repeating an old pattern. Rather than repeating an old pattern. Naming your emotions plays a critical role in this process. Naming or recognizing your emotions, if we want to say it that way, plays a critical role in this process. When you identify your feelings, using terms like disappointment or relief, rather than the vague words like fine or upset, you engage irrational parts of your brain to reduce the emotional intensity. You and I will engage in rational parts of our brain to reduce emotional intensity. Here's an example. After you receive a clear feedback, you might feel unsettled. Labeling this emotion as uncertainty helps you pinpoint the source and determine your next step. So labeling that emotion and labeling what that unsettling is gives you the ability to make the next step or choose the next step. See, in all of it, we have a choice to make. In all of it, we have a moment or a time frame to make the right decision. See, it's all this is about because the church don't talk about it. Scriptures gives us clear view, as I spoke on day 3, about each person has the right to make a decision to have control over them. It's all about making the right decision. It's all about making the right decision that the outcome will determine the results in every situation, be it at work, be it at church, be it with family, be it with neighbors, be it whatever it is that you're faced with that cause an emotional response. And at the end of the day, you have to have control over you. You and I have to learn to have control over and make the right decisions every time. Hallelujah. In relationships, emotional awareness strengthens your ability to connect. In relationships, emotional awareness strengthens your ability to make the connect. Misunderstandings and unmanaged emotions lead to tensions or conflict. Misunderstanding often leads to tension and conflict. When you articulate your feelings clearly, you foster understanding and trust. When you clearly articulate or understand or divide, whichever word you want to use, your feelings, clearly you foster understanding and trust. For instance, saying, I feel overwhelmed could, could use some help. You know, sometimes we're in situations where we don't understand why another person is feeling such a way. But when they express that, you know, like saying they feel overwhelmed and can use some help and invite us, you and I, to collaborate with them and have empathy and not be accusational, but come to a statement to not to create defensive, not to be defensively. So sometimes we have to clearly understand or listen to what someone's saying and not be on the defense, not be ready to be on the fence side. Now, emotional check-ins. You build emotional awareness through consistent practice. You build emotional awareness through consistent practice. Incorporating emotional check-ins into your daily day. Incorporate emotional check-ins into your daily day. Routines help you to develop this skill. Pause during an emotional charged moment. Sometimes when you're in an emotional moment, you have to put on the pause button. That's a check-in. Sometimes you just got to say, hush, to yourself. Don't say that to whatever situation in. Sometimes you just have to put on the pause button. At work, during a meeting, at home, whatever, put on the pause button. And when your mood shifts, then begin to ask yourself, what am I feeling right now and why? Begin to ask yourself, what am I feeling? That means you take an evaluation of your feeling, recognize what are you feeling right now and why are you feeling that? Let me say it again. Take an inventory for that moment and say to yourself, what am I feeling right now? And why am I feeling this? You can use the I statement to express your emotions clearly. You can use the I statement to express your emotion clearly. I feel frustrated when expectations aren't clear. And I might talk about that on one of these sessions because Expectations not clearly understood will bring frustration. Let me say it again. Expectations that are clearly not expressed or understood can bring frustration. So we have to look at expectations and bring it into our emotional awareness. Expectations. Engage in dialogue to encounter mutual understanding. Engage in dialogue to encounter mutual understanding and collaboration. So sometimes you might have to sit down and talk it out. It's a good thing because that brings you into that emotional awareness to understand what triggered it. Hallelujah. Using a tractor adds the depth to your practice. At the end of each day, write down the emotional moment and its trigger. Write down the emotional moment and its trigger. Reflect on how you responded and consider ways to approach in a similar situation. So track how you went this time you respond and learn from it that when it arrives again, you don't respond the same way. Hallelujah. For example, the moment you're frustrated after receiving a last minute task, what is the trigger feeling? Are you feeling unvalued? What is the response? Communicate expectations and boundaries early in process. Here's the response. Communicate expectations and boundaries early in the process. So let everyone know. So you won't be frustrated and feeling unvalued. The reason why you're feeling unvalued because you never spoke or expressed or knew the expectations. And now you're feeling unvalued. And now you're frustrated. But if you communicate them from the beginning, your boundaries in the early process, you won't go through frustration and you won't go through feeling unvalued. Be consistent, reflecting your strength and your ability to identify a pattern. Be consistent in a reflection of your strength and ability to identify patterns and refine your response by creating emotional resilience. Define your response by creating a greater emotional resilience, emotional awareness. We will continue on this on tomorrow. Have a great day. Know again, you have the ability to have control over you, and you must evaluate your emotional awareness. Have a good one. Talk to you another time. Bye bye.